I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. A little bit of housekeeping before we get going this evening. If the fire alarm goes off in the building, it's going to cause a loud ringing of bells. Please get up and go to the exits, the nearest exit, and go either left or right, the quickest way that you can get out of the building, but I stress you should walk and not run. When you go outside, stay on the sidewalk, do not get in your car, do not attempt to drive away. As soon as emergency vehicles, as you'll impede the oncoming emergency vehicles, as soon as we've determined that the building is safe, we will come back inside and finish the hearing. Mr. Shine will not be here this evening, correct? So in the interest of anybody in the audience who may be here to hear the Shine application, which is 30 Sunset Lane, they will not be here this evening. They are on the planning board agenda, so I will entertain a motion to adjourn this hearing to future meetings. So can I get a motion on that?
Motion.
Motion made, seconded. All those in favor? Any opposed? So carried. Next application is out of the Cheese Patch LLC, 20 East Main Street, seeks permission to relocate cheese shop. Subject premises located in D3 Business Zone. Representative, please come up to the microphone. Do you have the green cards?
Yep.
Okay, give those to Carol, please. And state your name and address for the record. And tell us all about your application.
Paige Pfeiffer, 75 Flint Street, Patchogue, New York. Basically, going to be moving the cheese patch, which is now located at 11 North Ocean Avenue within Wisteria Lane, to 20 East Main Street. We're just going to expand with some of the accompaniments. We're going to have more cheeses, we're going to have some seating now, and we'd like to offer beer and wine. So I'm applying, I have applied for my beer and wine license.
Okay, so essentially you're moving on to the existing location, which is on North Ocean Avenue, over 20 East Main Street. How many employees will you have?
Probably two, other than myself.
Okay, so pretty much the same, or you're expanding that a little bit?
One, I'll probably be adding one. I have two that alternate. I'll probably have to try to have two people on at once. Just
We can use the job. And your hours of operation will remain the same as they are now?
No, they're going to expand. I am
Okay.
going to stay open during the week, probably till like 8 o'clock, and maybe on the weekends till 10.
Okay.
I don't want to get that crazy crowd, so I'm afraid to have it before it's nuts.
And should be noted for the record that we did, in fact, meet the applicant at the workshop where we reviewed the floor plan, which is obviously an expanse over the current establishment. You have added a couple of seats, a couple of tables, and you have your cheese counter up front. So does anybody on the board have any questions? It's a relatively straightforward application. This is a permitted use in the zone right now. There's no zoning issues here. No health department issues, no need for a grease trap, nothing of that nature, correct?
Is the restroom ADA, one of the restrooms ADA compliant?
Yes.
There are 3 restrooms, correct?
Yeah, there's 3.
Okay. So I guess you have a male, a female, and a family.
We've got an office in here?
In the back, I'm going to make some kind of,
Part of the storage?
yeah, incorporate something. It's a lot of space back there, a lot of wasted space actually.
It's narrow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very long.
You don't do any food prep on the site, do you, other than?
I mean, I'm going to be putting, the cheese plates together and stuff
Right,
like that, platters.
No cooking?
No cooking.
No.
Any other questions for the applicant? Is there anyone in the audience who would speak for or against the application? If so, come up front now. There being no one coming forward, I'll entertain a motion on the application.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we close the application and we approve it.
Okay?
Yes, and put this, and approve it, approve the application as presented.
Motion to approve is presented. Can I get a second? Second, Ms. Kelly. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Congratulations, good luck.
Thank you.
Wish you luck with your move. When are you gonna move it?
Hopefully by June 1st.
Okay, great. So,
That's great.
Moving along.
in there pretty quickly, right?
Yeah.
Moving for business. It's great.
Yeah. Close one and open the other the next day, hopefully. We'll
We've
see.
been successful so far. We hope that it only gets bigger and better for you.
Thank you guys.
All right. The average pies at 276 Cedar Avenue, seeks permission to construct a new 24 by 24 detached garage subject premises located in the residential zone. Good evening, sir.
Hello.
Okay. Okay, so, let's get out your application. Can you say your name and address for the record?
Garrett Kaiser, 276 Cedar Avenue, Patchogue, New York, 177.
Okay, Kaiser, can you tell us all about your application?
I had an existing garage in the back of my property, and I was here about a year or so ago, and when I was putting my extension in the back of the house, I lost my house in Sandy, and when I put my extension, I proposed I was moving it forward to put it next to my house, the garage. It was approved already. But then I never got the building, I thought it was on my existing building, but it never was. So I started working, and I got stopped work order, and then I had to go through this process again. And now I'm here again, I'm just asking for whatever I need to get to build my garage.
Okay, so it's your contention that you were gonna move your
Yeah,
24 by 24 foot garage forward.
I removed it all, it's all done.
Okay.
So I guess what I didn't realize that because I removed it all, I didn't save any of the walls. So it was just like a condemned building.
Are these the plans that were presented, Carol, back then, or are these today's plans? What plans are these?
No, we didn't get plans for the garage when it was at the planning board last time, these are now.
But do we have plans for what he was going, do we have the plans for what he built, or what was going to build? We had
Well, he raised his house,
he just raised it.
he raised his house.
That's the plans that are, the only difference between these plans and plans that, these are stamped. These are stamped from the architect.
At the planning board hearing, we heard the raising of the house as well as the rear estate that they had. He did mention at the hearing that he was gonna relocate a garage, or rebuild the garage, but he didn't have plans for that, so we
Exactly.
really didn't get into that.
I didn't know that I needed to do that also, on top
Okay.
of, so now I'm proposing.
So now this is a detached garage,
Yeah, detached garage.
but you said, unless I misunderstood you, please correct me, that you were going to attach the garage to
No,
your
no, no.
house.
No, I was just moving the garage. It wasn't smack in the middle of my backyard. And I didn't like it there because it was just a poor location of a garage. Now I moved it to the end of my driveway next to my house.
Moving east towards the road where prior it had been behind the house.
Yeah, it was like right in the middle of my
We
backyard.
have to drive in and then drive.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's an awkward property.
it was very awkward
Was
situation.
This picture on the front of this plan shows a garage. Whose garage is that? No, it's set back.
I have a shed in the back of my house.
How
A
big
back
is the
corner.
shed?
It's like 12 by 12.
Okay.
It has a garage door for a lawnmower in it. If that's what you're talking about.
Well, I'm just looking at what I see here. I'm looking at the picture because I can't tell what the scale is.
Oh, just the picture itself, you're talking
Just the
about?
picture is all I'm looking at.
Yeah, it's in the back of my house. There's no garage there on this picture where the old building was.
Okay.
And now we're proposing it to go next to the house.
Is there a drawing of the property? Survey? Do we you have a survey for this property?
I'm sure I have.
And would we be encroaching by the placement of encroaching on the sidewalk? Yeah.
Oh, this
Is there any elevation?
I know the property. So this is where the garage was, he's moving it forward.
That garage
This is the one that we got
Needs a
back.
variance for that.
I guess.
Yeah,
The garage that's on your north side,
like
that one
in the
you
back.
moved, right?
No, I just left it though.
It's all the way towards Baxter?
Yeah, I didn't move that at all.
Is that what you're calling your shed?
Yeah, that's my
Okay.
shed, yeah.
So
The
it's-
one that's, I proposed to move, it was taken down and it was gone. Yeah, it was, yeah. it was
So you're
taken
just,
down.
how far forward are you moving this?
You know, I took it down like 9 years ago.
Oh, okay, it wasn't destroyed in the storm?
No, no, no.
Okay.
All right, so there's a couple issues here.
Okay.
First of all, you've exceeded the maximum allowable height for an accessory structure. You're at 18 feet 2 inches.
Okay.
It's a minor amount. The second part is, what would the actual height be of that second floor above this garage?
It's like with the, if I make it, I was following the lines of my house.
Okay,
So
the
what-
problem, here's the problem. The problem is that, from what I see here, it would appear that it's at least 7 foot 6 inches, which makes it habitable space above the garage. We have traditionally not approved that kind of structure because it's too high, and it could lead, in the future, not saying you do this, but to other things. So typically, we want to see it so that it's not habitable space up there.
Well, I need to put ceiling ties in there that are going to be 3 feet lower than they're anyway.
As long as 50% more of it is at 7.6, if I'm not mistaken, constitutes habitable space. So we want to make sure that that is under the 50% rule.
Well, if you look a little further, it's not, there's no laminar beam going to the ridge beam. It's not going to be completely a cathedral ceiling. There's going to be ridge ties in there,
I
sitting
understand.
down 3 feet. So it's only going to have like, if I got a full 7 feet, I'm going to be 3 feet lower. So it's only going to be like 4 feet.
Okay, but still, the way this is drawn right now, it would have to go to the zoning board of appeals for height. Because your height, on your own drawing is saying it's 18.2, am I correct, Carol? So it would have to go, based
What's
on what
my-
you have right now, you need to get approval from the zoning board of appeals, because any accessory structure cannot exceed 18 feet. So for I realize it's only 2 inches, but it's 2 inches, and the limit is 18 feet, so just so you know that, okay? And that's certainly your right, and I don't think you'd have much of an issue, although I can't speak for the zoning board for 2 inches, but, you know, it is what it is. And as long as that height, that finished roof up there, the finished inside ceiling, is not sitting at habitable space, that's at least 50% or more cannot be habitable space, and that's okay. The question I have though is you have a couple of garage doors, one in the front, one in the back. You have two on one side and one on the other.
Yes.
What's the plan?
Well, the plan
What's
is
the reason for that?
so I could put my lawnmower in the back and to drive around the whole garage. And I want to have that access space. The back shed is for my kids' toys. So I don't put anything in there. I want to put everything in my livable garage. So when I want to mow my front yard, I don't have to drive it around through gates. And I can just leave it so that I can just drive through the garage. Leave one bay open on both sides. Plus, when you're working in there, it's nice to open up all 3 bays and just have a nice, cool space to work. Is that an issue?
Not necessarily, no. Just asking why it's that way.
Oh,
How would you have access to the second floor of the garage?
There's a pull-down staircase.
Okay,
You know,
that's permissible as well.
that's in there.
Now, you're gonna finish this to match the house.
Yeah, that's my goal. I want to keep the same lines as my house, so it looks nice to the street. I like a view of my house to be like even with my garage. Same siding, same roofing, same lines on the roof. That's the only reason why I made it 18 too. I have plenty of room in my house to do whatever I want to do.
And like I say, it's certainly your right to go to zoning board of appeals and ask for a relief on that 2 inches.
And you're not,
Oh,
I'm sorry, you're not running plumbing lines up there, correct?
No.
Just electric.
You're gonna run electric. No
Yeah,
plumbing, no gas.
I'm not, no gas.
You can run electric, obviously.
I could run electric and can I run radiant heat in the floor?
We haven't really allowed much of that, I can tell you that.
Well, just to give it like a heated garage so that it will, you won't, like if my wife's car's there, it won't be freezing cold in it.
Yeah, I don't know, we have to check with the building department.
I mean, I wouldn't
To my
put it in,
knowledge,
it's just not approved.
to my knowledge, we have not approved heat in the garage. Just accessory heat kind of thing.
Like if I put electric heat in there, I could do it.
Portable heaters.
Portable heat is what
It's just that
allow.
radiant heat's so much more efficient and so much more safe,
I appreciate that,
you know?
but, we have not allowed that,
Okay. That's fine.
and there are reasons for that. What I don't have though, I'm not sure what the placement is. Do we have a survey showing where it's gonna be placed? Do you know exactly where it's gonna be placed?
Yeah.
It's already there.
I'm kicking it down there.
It's gonna go back in the same spot where this framed 18 by...
No.
No.
Can you show him on the survey where he
It's going right where that garage is.
Here's
I can
the
show
survey.
This is his house,
Yeah,
and he's got a deck, correct, right to the south.
yeah.
And the garage would be here.
Okay, then this is obviously the survey. Once the garage is located on the survey, do we have any side doors?
I believe he's, at least 50 I believe you're, how many feet? 15 feet off the side.
I'll have to go first, I get a truck back.
He already put the foundation in, right? So it's 15 feet off the property line? Is it gonna be even with the front of the house?
Yeah, well, it's even with the, there's a front part, then there's a kick out, my deck is. So it's like 6 inches in front of my deck, so I won't have any problems with the deck. But yeah, it's just in line with everything.
So it's in front of the house?
It's on the side of the house, that's it.
This is the front. So it's just the looks in line as opposed to.
I understand.
We're gonna, for your building permit though, we're gonna need it scaled in on the side.
Has to be.
So,
Has to be
yeah.
for us. I mean, we're taking, at this point in time, taking the word that there's not an issue with side yard variance. Really needs to be drawn in professionally so that we would know whether it needs to be looked at. Okay. All right, anybody got any questions on it? Question I have is materials. Talk to me about the external building materials.
The external building materials, like what am I doing for siding?
Yeah.
I'm doing all the cedar shake vinyl siding. The same as I did to my
It's
house.
gonna match the house exactly.
Yeah, I don't like that whole.
Roof shingles.
Roof shingles are gonna be architectural, weather, wood, architectural shingles. It's gonna be all cedar shake, perfection, cedar shake, vinyl siding, with all the same trim. It's a cypress green with vintage cream trim. It's gonna have all gutters on it. It's gonna have all the gutters gonna be tied into roof drains. It's gonna have all vintage cream gutters and everything's gonna
Match
be
the
done in
house.
the house.
Match the house, okay. Yeah, now, the other thing that we've been asking people to do on garages, especially towards the street, is you just have drawn in a standard garage door.
Okay.
As long as I've been here, which is quite a while now, we always ask for lights in those, in the top panel of the garage door.
In the soffit?
Instead of, I'm talking about glass lights, you know,
Oh, yeah.
windows.
Yeah, they're all.
So that has to be done in the top panel. Or top, the next panel down, either one.
It would be in the top.
If it, yeah, and it just adds a little bit more curb appeal instead
Yeah.
of just a solid panel door. Alright,
We're gonna be vinyl because of work
Obvious,
issues.
yeah.
But, yeah.
understood. And, since there's no heating, there's no chimney on the structure. Anything else we're missing on that? So, you understand you don't have a problem with that?
I don't have a problem with that. No, I like the whole, I mean, my house, I've done over and above in my house to get a nice curve. I take pride in what my house looks like. That's all I make my garage, a little pretty garage.
Anybody else have any questions? Anything?
One other question, as far as the lighting goes over the garage, it's going to be, it's not gonna be spotlights. But
No.
we're trying to keep people from having like shooting out all over it, trying
Yeah.
to make like down lighting.
No, it'll be the same lights as my, my house, just like nice lighting. They'll be on motion sensors because when we walk up there.
Yes.
The back lights will be spotlights, because I don't really like people running around my backyard. But yeah, but I don't keep them on ever.
Now, you did raise your property considerably.
Yes.
Are you keeping currently all of the drainage from your home, on your property, or is it running off?
Well, my property is pitched less than 5%,
Right.
which legally, it has to be, I can go up to 7%.
Right?
So I'm less than 5% pitch, a shot of my grades itself. So I don't have to do anything for my water runoff, but it has less than the exact pitch that it needs for the proper runoff.
But we have always required that.
Did I put trench drains in? Yes. I
That,
put all trench drains around all property, so no water will go anywhere.
so
I
you're
have
saying
drainage
all
system
the water
in.
that runs, that comes through your gutter system is going into your own drains and not running off the property?
Not this moment it's not, but there are drains in the ground. I haven't figured out my landscaping. So as soon as I figure that out, I will put my drains in. All the drainage is there.
I just want to make this clear. What you're saying is you have all the drainage in place to keep the
Yes.
water on your property, but
Correct.
it's not currently pointed to those drains.
It's not, no.
You
There's
do
no
understand
pipe
that any water runoff that comes off of your home or off of any proposed garage must be contained on your property.
going in. It is.
And if it isn't, then obviously they're going to complain to the building department.
I understand.
You understand? Okay. All right. Anybody else have any questions for the applicant? Okay, thank you, sir. Anyone in the audience wish to speak for or against the application? If you do, please come forward, state your name and address, and tell us what's on your mind. There being no one coming forward, I'll entertain a motion on the application. Yep. If you want to do that?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to close and hold this application.
Okay. Motion made and seconded. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, we'll be in touch. Sure. Thank you.
Great, thank you. I don't need to stay, right?
I'm
I
sorry?
don't need to stay?
No, you can go.
Oh, okay, good.
You are dismissed. We have to stay. Have a good night.
Take care.
Okay, the last on our new applications is Pine Lake Properties, 114, 120, 128, 132 River Avenue, seeks permission to demolish existing structures and construct self-storage facility and site plan approval subject premises located in the E industrial, D2 business, and C residential zones. That's a mess. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
You,
I had a copy of
do you
these.
have anything you, would like to,
Oh, okay, so this one, okay.
yeah, well, let us see first, and then we'll turn them around for the audience to see, in case anybody has any questions, thoughts, or concerns. But, and then do you have the cards? for
Yeah, I
Carol?
do that too. My lovely assistant.
Yes. Thank you. Yes.
Yeah, I'll just hand these out now. This is, just a large, that's my site is bad, and I couldn't read it.
Ralph, appreciate how.
Yeah.
We can share.
Okay.
Yeah. Take one of these too, Ralph. No, you got it, right?
Yeah.
One, in case anybody wants to see it.
Sure.
Anybody wants to see the plan, you know, we'll pass it back to you.
Well, yeah, and I also got pictures here too.
That's it, thank you.
Okay, so, have you given out everything you had to give out at this point?
I believe so.
Okay. So just, let's get on the record with the name, address,
Sure.
and then maybe you could show us the big pictures, and then we can turn them around to the audience.
Okay.
Because we have those pictures here in front of us, right?
Yes.
So
Representing Pine Lake Properties, Ralph Fusillo, managing member, for properties on River Avenue, 114, 120, 128, 132, River Avenue.
Okay, Mr. Fusillo. So if you just want to crank those, this is what we're looking at, so you just want to turn those around. If anybody in the audience would like to see them, they'll have them.
Can you see them down here?
No.
You can certainly pass them around,
That's the Dutch colonial.
just don't break them.
I thought they were gonna tear that. Yeah, there's only two, what the other one's not, so it's the Dutch colonial.
I'll give you a little bit of history about it in a second, so.
Okay, Mr. Fusillo, why don't you, first of all, just for the record, so folks know, our job here in the planning board at this point is to make recommendations to the village board. The village board would be the ones who could either grant this project as far as rezoning, which is necessary for this parcel. We can either pass anything on here tonight other than a recommendation to the village board, which we may or may not be in a position to do after this evening's hearing. But our reason for being here today, and it should also be noted for the record that we have met with Mr. Fusillo at a couple of work sessions in the past and have put a lot of our input into this plan already. And certainly this is the opportunity tonight to hear from the public on any improvements or any concerns that you might have. So Mr. Fusillo, why don't you present the plan, the concept, what it is that you want to accomplish, and when you're done with your presentation, we'll have any questions. If we have any questions, we'll ask them at that time. If not, we'll certainly want to hear from the public who may or may not want to speak. So go ahead, sir. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This property has been in my family since, I don't know when, my grandmother, approximately 1920, I guess, the property was started. Through the years, there was many changes, obviously, what happened on River Avenue. And for about the last 10 years, we've been trying to decide what to do with the piece of property, trying to keep the integrity of the area as best as we could. I actually brought some plans. We've come due to the zoning with a retail little strip center. There was time when there was housing to put up affordable housing. I met with representatives from Brookhaven Hospital. I met with Briarcliff College. I met with Nuns, Long Island Housing Authority, which is Wargo. So through the last 10 years, we've been trying to figure out what's the best thing to do here. And one of the things that always came back was some sort of storage facility for the building. As we were going through some of the design phases in the work sessions, the board thought it would be a good idea to keep my grandmother's house, that's 120 River Avenue, so we can give it a little bit of an estate look and still keep what it's going to look like. So what I gave you here are two different looks, one coming off of Division Street, one coming south on River Avenue, what we anticipate, and we're going to try to make it look like. And the reason why storage became a good use for this area is not a lot of traffic. Rule of thumb is 4 cars per 100 units. When we're done, we're only talking 207 units. We are purposely not going 2 stories up. How it was advised in our feasibility study. They were suggesting to go 2 stories to get more units. We toned it down. And we just think, in light of some of the housing, what's been going on in the village with the increase in housing, that a storage facility in this location would be viable without doing any harm whatsoever to school districts, traffic flow, sewer. There's literally no impact. It's very light use. Once again, just a reminder that it's unique River Avenue zoning, with the first 150 being D2, that piece closer to the railroad goes D2 business, then E industrial. There's a lot of things we could put there by right, and we decided to take this action as more of a global development. In the design itself, and if anybody, I'll give you mine so you guys, if I don't know who's here on this, but by design, if you notice on the northern parcel and the west parcels, we purposely structured the buildings there to act as a buffer. I believe by right we can go to the property line. We purposely left 10 feet off of it so we can create buffering there. And we wanted to encapsulate, with Morrison Place, encapsulate the facility towards River Avenue. And with landscaping and tree design, we still have to have a little bit of visibility. It still has to be a viable product. However, we are trying to maintain that estate look where people are going to know it's there but not know it's there. And it just becomes part of the landscape of River Avenue. Again, we kept the house. The game plan there is to have an office downstairs and storage, and possibly upstairs have a manager's office. We also ran the fire trucks through it. If you notice off of Morrison Place, we have an emergency egress there, so people can come in, you can sort of see the traffic flow. And again, it's probably about as benign a use as that you can get for development on a couple acres. Hours of operation, that might be a concern to anybody here. I went online and looking at our feasibility studies. The office is generally open 7 days a week, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., and there'll be access into the facilities from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. That seems to be the norm in the area. The place will have security cameras. There is fencing interior, obviously. You have to protect what goes in there. Operating gates. And that's really about it. That's all I have to say. As far as the height of the buildings, they're very low profile. They'll go from anywhere from 4 up to 10.5 feet. And the topography of the River Avenue, if you notice on the topo maps that I think I previously supplied, it drops off 4 feet from the front of river to the back. So we're going to take advantage of that topo, where in the westernmost part of buildings and the ones in the middle there, they're actually going to be, just by the way the property is, a little bit more sunk down from the view of River Avenue.
Question on the house, I was just looking before I took the picture. We are redoing the exterior of the home.
Yeah, well, within reason, the exterior there is pretty much the coloring. We're going to look at it and maybe go to a vinyl siding on it rather than keep it the shingles. We'll
Is
see.
it asbestos shingle?
No,
it's
cedar.
It is cedar?
Yeah.
Um,
And so it's gonna be either, you know, I'm probably leaning more to try to make it as maintenance-free as possible. Again, that was the one thing that we discussed, is it better to knock it down and just sort of keep everything hidden back there, keep the house. I happen to agree with the board, I think if we keep that integrity there, I think it's gonna be good. So during that process, we'll just see what works best. At the very least, I think I'd probably do the front of the building in vinyl and maybe wrap it, and just see how the budget goes at that point.
I think the front of the building would be cedar impressions, which
Yeah.
would keep the cedar look, even though they're maintenance free, so you don't have a problem with that.
And this is not, just for on the record, this is not going to be a climate controlled facility, correct?
There is one building that is, if you notice, and as the development goes, again, not that you build it in stages, but you do sort of work on this project from north to south, and you'll be able to get some up and going. The only building that we proposed for climate control is Building E. That's the funny looking one, close to Morrison Place.
So there'll be
That's
some
it.
sort of,
That's
how would you heat it then?
Well, basically what these are inside, if you see a series of cages with an open top, and you sort of just trunk a duct system in there, there's one unit on the outside, or in this case probably one on each side that feeds it. Candidly, Patchogue, when you look at the feasibility, there is a lot of climate control storage facilities around, because people have taken warehouses and converted them to storage. George Waldbauer's old place on Waverly Avenue, a couple around, they were all climate controlled because they're converted warehouses. So what we tried to do here is that as we're looking, I'm not doing a lot of 5x5s. The unit mix actually is going for larger units because we're looking for homes. And what are going to be better tenants. The ones you see, the storage lockers you see on Storage Wars are all the 5x5s that people just dump stuff in and don't care about. When you go with larger units, you get people sold their house, they're going to Florida, or they're looking to move into the apartments that are built, looking to see what's going into the condo, they have overflow. So the unit mix here is more of larger units, not climate controlled.
Okay, but I think my question is, how are you, are you using gas, oil, how are you heating? Electric heat in this?
Oh, as far, well, that's gonna be determined. If we're gonna do anything there, we have gas on the street, I'd probably use gas package units, low level, and then just trunk them up and go, and give it heating and cooling on the side.
Direct gas vent, direct vent out the back, you don't even.
Yeah, package units, there's no chimney on them or anything, they just sit there. If you ever go up to, Tanger up in Riverhead, and you drive into Tanger 2 off of 25, you'll see that's what they have there. They have a bunch of package units that trunk up and down.
I have a question that I expressed, I know, during the work session, and I know everybody kind of agreed. The color of, the home, that was the reason why we wanted to keep the home, so that it maintained, so that because of all the improvements on River Avenue with the other homes, we felt that this would be nice to keep, so that we have, as an office, so that it kept that, the integrity of the street. Now, what I'm looking at, as far as the storage units go,
Yes.
when you're coming down River Avenue, will the facade on the fronts of those storage units be similar in keeping with the house?
No.
That was a concern.
One of the things that we discussed was there's two ways to go about doing this, and this is why through landscaping, that we're gonna be able to give it a look. I mean, I happened to go because looking around, I thought a blue with a gray look would be more of a nautical Patchogue type of look, for lack of a better word, and with a gray house. However, it's going to be difficult. Again, you are running a business here, and you can't totally bury stuff. As far as doing facades with stonework and all that, one of the things that we were talking about a little bit quid pro quo was by keeping the house and keeping that estate look and going across. There's really not room on that front building.
You can't put the shakes, in other words, the vinyl with the perfection shakes, you couldn't put those on the
It
front.
would be real difficult because you don't really have a lot of wall space there. Because no, it's a great question. You have the doors, and we are conscious as lifelong Patchogue residents, that we're trying to make this melt with the area. And as houses on Patchogue are getting, on that River Avenue are getting fixed up, cleaned up, we actually knocked down 2 houses over the last 6 years, the one that was on the corner and the one that was at 114, where we were just trying to
Right.
get this area cleaned up a little bit. So by the landscaping design, I think is really gonna keep everything with a black fence behind it. I think it's gonna look pretty
So
sharp.
you're going to put Leland cypress in the front, correct?
Yeah, if that's the tree that, yeah, or however we go about it. I like Leyland cypress, arborvitae's, but Leyland cypress really take off.
But you put mature, I mean, decent size, you're not gonna put, you know,
No, we gotta, yeah, you gotta.
you understand what I'm saying, I just.
I mean, as you go around, and there might be different spots, like if we see spots in the back, or spots that, you know,
Right,
you sort of
right,
choose your spots. But up front here is that when we had this design, you know, I said make them at least fence height.
right.
And if not, we'll go up a little higher, and then as we wrap around, you know, that's the most important part up front. And then after that,
Right,
we
no, I
will
get
go.
it.
Well, at this stage in the process, what we're looking at is the conceptual design, to make a recommendation to look well on conceptual design. You would have to come back to this board for final site plan.
Yeah.
At that point in time, we would want a detailed vegetation schedule.
Sure.
So we know exactly what's gonna go there, the caliber of the trees, everything, so that we can make comment on that, to ensure that, in fact, that, you know, within a reasonably short period of time, you know, it's actually gonna look like this. I mean,
Absolutely.
we realize you're not gonna put in that size tree to begin with, but within a couple of years, it'll grow
Sure.
to something like that. We don't want, you know,
Well, my intent is to go at least fence, I want to go at least fence height, if not higher. So as you go across there, because part of it's security, part of it's, you know, there's other factors too that come into play, so.
but the security will also be welcomed in the neighborhood too, I'm sure.
Well, yeah, because they're all gonna have cameras, you're gonna have surveillance. The lighting plans that come off the building are the low sodium that go low.
right.
You're not gonna have towers, everything's coming off the building. If you go around to some of these facilities, not a lot going on.
No, I understand, but still, because of all the improvements in the neighborhood, you know,
Sure.
the houses, that's a concern, is to maintain the integrity of the investments that have been going on River Avenue and to have it continue to flourish, so
Absolutely.
that's.
You know, and there probably will be some adjustments made, like I'm not quite sure if the corner of Morrison Place and River Avenue with the vegetation that you have there, the way you have it drawn in, would really fit. We may have to pull some of that back, maybe a blind curve, I'm not sure. We have to take a look at that.
One thing,
But, so there are things to look at, but that would be in the final site plan phase. If you get to that stage, you know, there's things that we'll look at in that regard. But as a general plan, you have done what the board had suggested that you do, and we'll get more into the nitty-gritty should we get down the road that far. Let me just ask a couple of general questions. Do many people store cars in these facilities? Will you have that ability?
not that, I guess if someone really wanted to get one in there, it's not something that I'm gonna market to or anything like that. I mean, during the feasibility study, none of that has ever come up as far as what people, most of the stuff is furnishings. When I went up to visit some facilities up by Tanger, there was some overflow from the stores in Tanger, businesses that overload and, you know, once a week just move some inventory out. Household stuff, as far as cars, I don't want anybody working in there. I guess, and like with any concern, I don't necessarily want gas in there. I mean, so at the end of the day, I don't know if I can totally disallow it, but it's not something I'd be marketing to.
Yeah, well, you know, I guess one of the issues that we have with any storage place, just like any UPS truck coming down the street with a Federal Express truck, you can only do what you can do to ensure that what's
Yeah.
stored in there or what's being delivered from there is not something that's dangerous, but there's limits to what you can do. So we understand that.
And I wouldn't want anybody running a business out, like, you know, storing.
And that is a key thing, because quite frankly, I've heard that from several people that have specific concern that You know, every day the electrician goes there at 8 o'clock, at 7 o'clock in the morning, when the kids are walking to school, and he's loading up his truck with whatever he's loading it up with. And that would be certainly something that this board would not be in favor of if that became the case where you had several businesses working at it as using it as their storage
I can
facility.
see the
because
concern,
that
absolutely.
creates a problem.
And to your point on that too, sir, I remember from the work session, I did widen, if you notice the entrance where the stop is,
Right.
and I made sure that there was plenty of line of sight. And I
Yes.
pulled back that one parking spot,
Mhm.
moved the tree line,
Right.
and tried to address those issues as much as we could, so.
Especially with kids walking through. However, it's well noted by this board, and you know I've been here for many years, we've gone over all the various plans and thoughts that your firm had about what could be put here, and this certainly is the lowest impact use of anything. Certainly 7-Eleven was, something of that nature would be a real disaster.
I just brought this one back just to make you laugh, because I don't know if you remember the apartments that we were doing back there. So, we had these all drawn up a couple of years ago, and then we had the River Haven Commons, the strip
Yeah.
center, so,
Yeah.
I just think when you look at the traffic flows on this thing, it's never good.
One other safety concern we were talking about, is there a way, to ensure, and you could ask your clients to make sure that they do not store hazardous materials, chemicals, because it's in a residential area? I'm not sure,
Well, I think certainly part of your contract is going to have to state that there is no storage of hazardous materials. That being said, you can do the best job you can.
I understand, right.
And sure, you can sort
It's
of tell.
well documented that
Cool
people
company.
do things very strange and don't have much regard for their neighbors, but I mean,
I would just ask that you would,
Plus your insurance, when you're dealing with insurance, it's all valid questions. I mean, with any type of a public storage, there are limits on, and short of inspecting everything that goes in there, there's definitely limits to what you can do. When we were looking at this project and trying to come to the village and come up with an idea, we just figured what would be best, for the village, for the area, what would make sense. I guess there's risk in everything that you can do.
well, let me ask this. There is no public access to electricity. In other words, if I buy a storage facility, I'm not getting a plug, am I? So therefore, I can't plug anything in.
Oh, no, yeah, there's
Which
no
is a good
outlets.
thing.
These are all, the lighting inside
Like
is,
the timer?
as we're looking at, yeah, it's like central. And some of the buildings may not even have lighting, like the ones on the, obviously the bigger one would, but the ones along with like straight 10 by 30s, you're opening it up, that's why the normal hours of operation are during daylight.
Now, you control the access to the garage doors by a person that has a padlock.
Yes.
It's not an electronic access.
The only electronic access is depending on what gating system you do, and then you can tell who's coming in and when, and then you basically disable the gates.
So you could go to the videotape after something was to happen, so. I mean,
Because when you're selling a secure space,
Right.
so if anybody was a consumer coming in, they want to make sure what they put in there, because chances are, if they're going down to Florida for 3 months, they're not visiting. So they want to make sure that the furniture that they put in there is going to be there in April when they come back.
Any other questions on the plan itself?
Can we just talk about parking for just a minute?
Sure.
Okay, so, again, on the record, because I see it's here on the plan, but it's small. So your total required parking is 25 stalls. You're providing 26. But it looks like the size of your stalls are 19 by 10?
I'm trying to see. You're just looking on the parking calculations.
Yeah, I'm looking at.
One stall equals 2,000 feet, that's what you guys see.
200 feet.
No, that's.
Let's do it.
200 feet. That's a big parking space.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
That's the eyesight, it's not what it used to be.
Yeah, office one stall, 150. Oh, wait, no, I'm sorry, they want one stall for 150 square feet, I'm sorry, that's how he's doing his calculations.
Yeah,
What I'm going by is, the parallel park all the way over on Morrison Place.
okay.
So actually, some of it's 19 by 9, it looks like. If they are 19 by 9, I think that brings you over, that's gonna bring you over the zone.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's gotta be 10
10 by
by 20.
20, yeah.
Okay,
Just
just so I noticed 1, 2, 3. Well,
whatever you have that's substandard size, which are probably, I mean, in storage facilities, probably most of them, because you're not gonna fill up, it's not a restaurant, you know, you're not filling
yeah,
up
there might be a way
spaces.
to make that up with some of the landscaping, and I think we were one over, so maybe if we take the one out and lengthen them a little bit and bring it out, we can address that.
Right, just so you're aware, they are substandard sizes.
Along Morrison.
The other, well, I don't know what your interior is measured.
Yeah, I'll just make a note of
Yeah.
it. That's why.
The response was labeled as 19 by 9.
19 by, so they're all substandard,
Right.
yeah,
You could probably redraw the spaces in here
yeah,
and get the required number of spaces, I would think.
yeah.
See, some of the stuff we were trying to accommodate was just keeping those 10-foot, setback, where I believe I can go either to 5 foot or the line. So I might be able to, if I had to pull back a building or something, maybe do something like
And the only other, only because I've used one of these before, that's why I came up.
Yeah,
But
go
I was between houses, so, you know, you leave one place, the new place is not ready yet, you know, that's how it goes, so.
There's a lot of that going on in Patchogue right now.
Exactly.
Hence why I'm here.
So nobody would get out of my current house, that's why I was, yeah. So when you, also the use, a lot of, I had to bring in a U-Haul, into, you know, like a little box truck to bring my things in. So the turn down, all the way down, I guess it's on the far west property between buildings H and G. That turn radius just feels very tight, I would just take a close look at that.
He ran the fire truck through it. That's what I paid him for, so I'll address the concerns with
Yeah,
them.
because it looks like there's that landscaping on the color. Yeah. Yeah. So either someone, I'm just looking at someone's gonna clip the corners of your building, or they're gonna ruin this,
Sure.
grass, so. Yeah,
Those can be addressed, I think, when we come back to you.
for site plan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's all I have.
Any other questions?
Hours of operation,
Yeah,
this hours of operation?
like I said, I believe when I looked around online, it was 8 AM to 6 PM access. The normal hours of office are either 9 to 4, 9 to 5, around there. It's not a 24-hour operation, so it is Monday, it's 7 days a week, because you never know, but the office is generally closed a little bit ahead of time of access, but then it shuts down, so no one should be there, you know.
Now, when would you have somebody on staff at the facility? What's the plan?
As far as during the constructions?
No. Operations,
It would be during the office hours.
during office hours,
Yeah, you-
okay, so there'd be somebody there, for argument's sake, from 7 AM to 6 PM,
Well-
which is a time you stay.
Well, generally what happens is, before the office opens, if someone has their code, they can get in, because you don't want to pay someone to show up at 6:30 or 7 o'clock in the morning. But if you just go with the basic 9 to 5, say with an office, or 9 to 4:30 with an office, someone shows up at 8:45, opens up the office, and that's when people can come in and rent their lockers.
So you'll have the gate pre-programmed so it will not open after a certain time?
Yeah, that's the only way you can do it. So it
Otherwise,
keeps
it's
your-
gonna be a 24-hour deal.
Yeah, so you want to, you do want to lock out the,
And the next question I have is that, and this obviously goes along with that, I know the answer, but I want to get it on the record anyway. Isn't this part of this parcel currently being used for off-site parking for the restaurant around the
Yes.
corner? And that will discontinue, correct?
there'll be a building here. Yeah, this can do, yes.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, thank you. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak for against the application? If so, please come forward, state your name and address, and tell us what's on your mind. Yeah, what do you have with it? Thank you. Thank you for your presentation, I appreciate it. Good evening, ma'am. Thanks for
Hi.
waiting. Just state your, as soon as Mr. Casella moves, you can say
Yeah.
your name and address. For the record, tell us what's on your mind.
Josephine Willis, 82 Nottingham Avenue, Patchogue, New York, 11772.
Yes, ma'am.
I didn't get a letter, but I'm in the district. What I want to know is, how is this going to affect our property value? We already have problems on the street, no drainage. And at the end of the street, it looked like, you know, that there's problems there. That's never fixed. So, this is only going to affect the water, especially with the water problem we have there.
Speak to me more about your water problem.
Well, the water, there's no drainage at all on Fordham and Nottingham. All the water comes down by me, goes into my basement. There's 3 homes
Okay,
that gets water because of the street.
okay.
And I have complained, even an engineer has came there, and he said it could be fixed. Nobody bothers fixing it.
Well, just so you know, we can't address your water problem, but I appreciate your problem.
No, it's a street problem, not
yeah,
just
you-
mine.
That, well, I understand that, and that should be best addressed by the highway department.
Oh, I did it many a time. Joe Dean will never return my call.
Okay, so my suggestion to you is to come down here during the day and speak to the village clerk. But let me tell you about what this project would be required to do, just so
Okay.
you know. We would require, and not at this stage in the process, but in the site plan stage, we would require the applicant to give us a complete drainage plan that would have the calculations on it from an engineer
2 acres.
to
Yeah.
cover all the drainage and all the water that would come down at a pretty good clip to be retained on this property. So that in no way anything that was done here, because this will be paved, and it's a valid question that you ask, we want to ensure, this planning board will ensure, you know, based on the information we receive from the applicant, that proper drainage is put on the parcel so that all the water that actually falls here remains here. That would be part of the approval process and wouldn't be approved without a proper drainage plan, which is not on this, this is a preliminary site plan. But that's one of the things that we would do, and you're welcome, if it gets to that stage, to come back when we actually have those hearings, and so that you feel satisfied that at least this parcel, the water's gonna remain on the parcel. Is that fair?
Yeah, well, what about property value?
Well, right now it's an empty lot.
Yeah, I'm saying
And then
if
as
it's
a-
built there.
And then as an as-of-right use, I don't think this is going to affect your property. I think it'll increase it. And I think people in the neighborhood, like people who have been redoing homes there are doing a lot to help property values. in
Oh,
that
that's what
neighborhood.
we're doing on Nottingham. and
Yep.
We want homes there,
Absolutely.
you know, to,
Yes,
Not see
I'm very
from my
familiar with
side.
Nottingham. Very familiar with some of the problems you have on Nottingham.
oh,
Very familiar. And I understand your concern. This is an improvement project for the area. I don't see how it's going to detract from your property value. Especially when this property could be used for other things that would definitely detract from your property.
well, if it's used for other things, sure, why not?
Well, and this is probably the most, I've been sitting here a long time, this is probably one of the most benign uses for this property that has been proposed, and as of right uses could be things that are a heck of a lot more intrusive into the neighborhood, bring a lot more traffic, create more danger for kids who are trying to walk to school. This is a very low impact use based on the fact that this property could be used for a lot more intensive use. Is that fair to say?
Because of what it's zoned. It's zoned industrial, it's zoned.
They're looking to downzone, meaning that they're going from an industrial use, which is a very heavy use, like oil trucks, let's say,
Right.
something like that, down to a much lesser use with no noxious chemicals, less cars, less parking, less impact. So they're looking to downzone so that you'll, rather upzone it, so that you'll get a lot less activity on the lot.
And if it doesn't work, then what do we do?
Well, usually, that's why zoning categories are created, because that's what zones work, because of, there are only certain things allowed in certain zones. So it's the best way to describe it.
You live in a very unique area because you have, this particular parcel has 3 zones attached to it. You go across the street and you go, what is it, 150 feet deep, and you're in E-industrial, right on the river. And that's because 100 years ago, or 150 years ago, all the industry was on the river. There was, lumber yards back there. Train tracks used to come straight through there and drop off lumber. They used to bring in lumber by barge. There was, and the zoning is something that, you know, hasn't really caught up with the times. This parcel would never be zoned what it's zoned today if they were gonna recreate the whole zoning map. The positive thing about this project is that the zone that's gonna be created by, or what this is gonna be changed to, is gonna make a much more low-impact use, because what's happening in your neighborhood is it's being redeveloped for residential in most of the areas. Most of the homes that have been run down over the years are starting to get a hand up. And so this parcel, which could be very easily used for other things, is going to be put to a use that I think is much less impactful, and I think to your advantage, actually. Yeah, well, everything in life is we'll see, but, you know, I think best practices, I think it's a good idea. Anyone else wish to speak for or against the project?
I do.
Yes, ma'am, please come forward.
Hi.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Thanks for coming down.
You're welcome.
State your name and address for the record.
My name is Patsy Hill, and my address is 75 Nottingham Avenue in Patchogue.
Okay.
So I'm going to be right behind where he's building this, and that's going to be my view from my kitchen.
Mhm.
So what are you going to do for me to make that better so I don't have to see that?
So your home is
75 Nottingham Avenue. I'm behind the houses that he knocked down.
75 Nottingham, okay. These are single-story buildings in the rear. They are 4 foot down, and I don't think you're gonna be able to see much of them. And he's going to put landscaping across the back. Have you seen the plan?
A black fence?
He's gonna put, well, right now it's calling for, there is no landscaping across this one here. We will, that's a good point, we'll address this.
Yes.
What would you like to see across the landscape?
Oh, something really beautiful, a nice grass and, hey, make it.
Well, there is gonna be a buffer left there.
Yeah, a buffer left there, some grass and some trees or something. I just want to see the storage facility.
There's going to be a buffer left there, and we'll make sure some vegetation goes in. Remember I discussed before about, you know, vegetation, we'll be making sure that if it gets to that point, the village board grants the rezoning, that in fact, that we get some vegetation in there. Thank you for bringing it to our attention.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming down tonight. Anyone else wish to speak? Mr. Romeo? Yeah.
There you go.
Mr. Grucci?
I was waiting for Mr. Romeo.
I'm sorry.
Vincent Grucci, 129 River Avenue, and I am directly across the street from this project. Let me tell you what I like about this project, and then I'll tell you what I don't like about this project. Things I like about the project is the onus sits on Mr. Facility. It's not a house that will be vacant if he doesn't find a tenant. It's a structure that will sit there that is easily maintained. We all know what goes on with houses, and when they don't have tenants in them, they usually don't pay attention to them. I like the fact that it's taking the parking lot from the corner off the map, basically. I also like the fact that by granting this application, it kind of restricts its future use as we go forward. The only thing that I would be concerned about is the landscape. Living and owning directly across the street, I have put close to 20% of my revitalization budget into the landscape. And I would hope that this board would work with Mr. Facility to not necessarily do the same, but keep it in the style of what we've been trying to achieve over. What I don't like about this project is that he utilized my house on there, pretty much thinks that I keep my lights on the front porch on this picture all day long. I don't keep my lights on. But other than that, I appreciate you taking the time to go through the application, and I will support it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Grucci. Anyone else wish to speak? Yeah, come on, one go. Okay.
My name is Stanley Holick. I live at 66 Nottingham Avenue in Patchogue. The only thing I'm concerned really about is the fact that they can't store anything that's going to be hazardous or dangerous to the community. That's all.
I echo your concerns, as you well know. I'll do our best.
All right.
I I said they'll do their best, but as you also know,
They only have so much control.
they only have so much
We all
control.
know that.
We all know that.
But,
We all know that. And
is there any way in which they can keep an eye on what's going in there?
Well, we're going to certainly discuss that, and I think that any good businessman is going to have that as part of the contract. Maybe you can address that. Maybe you can address that. You have anything else?
That's funny, that.
Okay.
Other than that, you know, lots of luck.
Thanks. Is it?
I can address
Come back up to the mic and address that, because quite frankly, I'm concerned about that as well. You should back up. And just, let's get on the record how you feel about that, because obviously, we have one fireman in the room, and we're concerned. We're obviously concerned about not only your facility, but all the facilities like that. And as I mentioned before, the worst vehicle that we could pull up to is a UPS truck or a FedEx truck, because we have no clue whether it's a biological hazard, whether it's flammable materials, radiological, and that's because people ship whatever they ship, and you can only ask the question, what do you have in the box? Same thing with the post office truck, any truck like that. And that's the way that Stanley and I both think. And we're also realists, and we know that no matter what you tell people, I recall 20 years ago in Nassau County, they busted a guy, he filled the thing up with fireworks. I mean, so,
It wasn't me.
It wasn't you, Mr. Grucci. So there is a concern, and I imagine in your research you've probably come up with, whatever you can. So
a couple of points on that. When you're dealing with insurance companies, and you have to get your liability insurance, and I was background in the oil business. Out east, I have an oil terminal that I own. Through inspections, they also are very concerned with what's going on. So that's always your first step from a liability point of view. You always want to make sure you're doing things right. And obviously, if talking with some of the, especially out east, people that have owned storage facilities, if a guy shows up with a pool truck, backs up and starts taking chlorine and dumping it in there, it's not salt, you have an issue. I think the biggest guard against it, again, we all know, who knows what's going on in a house on River Avenue right now, or a storefront in Patchogue. You have no way of 100% protecting. But if you do best practices, common sense, have protocols, and in the contract say that you're not going to be storing any hazardous materials, and look out, that's the best way that you can do it. When I was in the oil business, we had to train the drivers for the same thing. If someone approached you, how would you handle it? If someone wanted to steal oil and fertilize, some common sense approaches. And unfortunately, that's really the best way that you can go and guard against that. But it's something with insurances. I can tell you that anybody that deals with insurance companies, they drop you pretty quick, and you do have issues if you are known to be in that mode, and you just don't want to risk it, so you tend to err on the side of caution.
Thank you, Mr. Silva. Okay, who else would like to have a chat? Mr. Bojack. Thank you, sir.
John Bojack, 8 Knoxon Street, and I live just a little bit south of this facility. I'll take the same position as another speaker. I'll talk about the good and then no reservations. And the good is this: I used to live at Fair Harbor Drive. I know that many people in condos don't have any kind of storage facilities. I think that's pretty true of a lot of places in Patchogue Village, and this proposal is as profitable as building a parking lot here. I think they're going to make a lot of money from the proposal, and it's going to provide a good service to the public as well. Not only that, I'm glad to see that it's only one story. I think that's good too. So it won't be so overpowering. I was wondering about container towers. I see that's not what they're building. I think that's good. And the landscaping as well should probably mitigate any kind of eyesore effects. Those are all good. And the office. But here's what my one and only concern is the traffic. And I don't think that it's realistic to think that this is so benign. I'm looking at this map. I'm looking at this, which is, these are representations. those two people with the dogs, if they were standing in reality, they'd be dead because of the traffic. River Avenue looks like it's the LIE, and there are no cars parked in these pictures. The realities are that street has parking. That street has fast parking. That whole area has been developed, not just for residences, Dublin Deck, Off-Key Tiki Bar, all the clubs. River Avenue is now a highway to the southern portion of the village. And during the summer, it's a choke point.
Yeah.
So-
You can't even get to your house within a half
And
hour.
here's the other part, the train.
Yes.
You see those gates, they're up, but in reality, they go down. And when they do, the traffic is even worse.
That's right.
There's no stop sign there. There's no light there. I realize that this proposal is going to produce not a huge amount of traffic, but the point is, it doesn't matter how many, it's when. If those cars are coming in at the same time, the people are heading for all those clubs, it's just that little bit more that's going to create even more stress on the use of these roads and make access more difficult for everybody, not just on River Avenue, but for miles in all directions. Now, that's, I think, a reality, and I believe these gentlemen who are running this are smart enough, they're industrious enough, and they're committed enough to Patchogue Village to try to figure out some solutions. But that is the Achilles heel of this proposal. If they don't take an eye to watching out for the traffic problems, you're going to create a choke on this part of the village of Patchogue. And I'm not going to be able to get home, and a lot of other people are going to have trouble. And they're going to be coming here hanging the board and everything.
Won't be the first time.
I'd just like to comment, and you made some excellent points, and I'm not saying, for or against the application, but I will say that after 2 storms wiping out my house and having to do all kinds of things, I, for the first time in my life, had to use a storage facility, which I still have. And I would go get boxes to box up all my belongings. I was back and forth a few times, but I have to say, storage facilities, I understand your point about the traffic, but I will say, every time I've been there, there's like hardly any cars. And I'm talking about one on Sunrise Highway. I don't know if they're all like that, but
They're not all like
Patty,
that.
I would agree with you, but I gotta tell you, this spot in Patchogue Village is the worst designed traffic spot in the village of
That's
Patchogue,
right,
in my opinion.
absolutely. Absolutely.
I won't take issue with that, John. I guess the alternative to a low impact use and as of right use would make this horrendous.
Right, no, I'm not saying about this proposal,
No, what I'm saying though, that one of our concerns has always been, what impact do we bring to River Avenue with whatever is built there, and what can we do to minimize that impact? Quite frankly, of all the things we've seen, and you may recall, several years ago, we actually had a storage facility from Bay Avenue and Potter Street, you recall that one? And one of the reasons that we felt strongly about that one was because of the area and the traffic impact to the area. Because since I put a strip mall there, which is not what we really wanted, we wanted a storage facility. Economics being what it was, they decided to go the other route, which is the property owners as already used. In this particular case, I think that this proposal, that this use of all the uses that it could be, certainly are going to provide the least amount of problem. Although I don't take issue with anything you said, because I go through there every day myself, and it's a disaster every day.
Right, and that's what I may have to do personally. I find many times I'm having difficulty, I'm afraid when I'm making a turn, many times.
There's no question about it. It's one of the worst intersections in the town. There's no question about it.
So
And maybe one of the things is that maybe we should petition the county when they just passed the, not that I like them, the speed cameras for the school zones. Probably River Avenue is one of the first places where we should go.
Right.
That would certainly slow them down, at least at that end. They'll probably gain speed by the time they get down to that intersection, but It certainly would slow them down if he's there.
Well, again, I'm not opposed to I'm reading the caveat, I see slowing them down. But I think the realities are, there are some traffic issues, and maybe it's good that the Patchogue Board of Trustees, maybe they have more resources to think about a solution. It's gonna be needed, really. That's not good.
Thank you, Mr. Wojcik. Anyone else wish to speak? Yes,
Just
Charlie.
to this point real quick, sir. We're actually taking away some residential uses and with people, so we're actually eliminating some cars and the need to be parking anything up front. Matter of fact, I'd probably even welcome a no parking up in front there. I know Mr. Grucci, with what he built there, he's not gonna have road parking. And just to give you, not to bore you with statistics, but I did bring some real quick, a study done a couple of years ago. Visits to a unit, not if you, so I'm talking a couple hundred units, we're not overbuilding this thing. The feasibility wanted 500 of them. 9% visit more than once a week, 13% will visit about once a week. Every 2 weeks, 18%, once a month, 30%, 3 to 6 times a year, 18%, and fewer than 3 times a year, 13%. So it's not crazy. I'm not going to go through it, just turn around and say, I get what you're saying. Traffic.
Now I want to respond to that, okay? Yes, first of all, maybe we should have a traffic study done. All right, that's the first thing. I mean, he has his statistics, but maybe we need independent statistics. And secondly, those statistics have to be taken into context of the unique situation we have here on this intersection. So that 1 and 2 must be put together. I hope he's right, but he's not the only source of information. Maybe the board needs to look for other information.
Well, I think that, that it would probably be prudent to do a traffic study there, and I certainly, I may know that.
Yeah, I think that would help everybody. You know?
And maybe they can make some specific suggestions.
And that would be even better.
And they can also verify, not that I don't believe Mr. Priscilla, but they can also, I'm sure there's industry standards for these types of units, and they can verify the number of trips a day, and they would do all that and see how that would impact the traffic. And at the same time, capture some of the statistics.
Yes, yeah.
So maybe that's something that the board will take into consideration, and I appreciate your input.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wojcik. Anyone else wish to speak? Yes, ma'am, please. Thank you for having such patience, and come on up and introduce your name and address, tell us what's on your mind.
Kim Swinson, 13 Central Lane.
Hi.
I didn't know about this, and I just was listening to everybody, and I think it's a great idea, considering the other things that you were talking about. And I much like Ms. Kelly up there, had to be out of my house, and I did the storage on Sunrise, and there were burnt cars there. I couldn't believe it. Sometimes I was like afraid to go by myself. It was a little spooky. That's a 2-story one. I've seen single-story ones. There's one before William Floyd where that canoe place is. Is it Wertheimer's? Have you seen that one?
Yeah.
That one's very well done. You almost don't know it's there. It's got the black chain link, and it's got all, the landscaping's incredible. West Hampton Beach, the airport out there, they have the low, they're kind of beat up, because I guess over the years, but it's when they're low like this, you hardly can see them, so you can almost really hide them. As far as the traffic, the Blue Point has one too, it's kind of beat up, it has no shrubbery, but you almost don't even know it's there. You look and it's like, you double guess yourself. The other thing is, as far as the traffic, this I think helps the summer traffic. So you're saving 5 months, because what it's being used for now, people are crossing, there's about 20 people crossing, at any given time going over to the different restaurants. So this I think would actually help that for the nicer weather months. And I've used a few because I've happened to be out of my house and getting ready to do it again, and I don't see a traffic as being a concern. How often do you go? I had to go a lot.
Twice a year.
What?
I've been twice, just to make sure that everything was still there,
And everybody goes for, I think that's,
that.
but our circumstances were different, where you went more often, but I don't think you go that often. So I think it's
Okay,
great.
folks, let's hold it down. On board here. Is there anyone else, wish to speak before we can see application? All right, thank you all for coming tonight. Your input has been very, very valuable. And we have it all listed here. The board will have a discussion about this. We will write a recommendation on unless the board feels that there's anything that we need to have brought back, but at this point in time, I think we have all the information we need. We'll write a recommendation to the village board. The village board is the final say on the rezoning of the property. The board instructs me to go ahead and write a missive that says that this is a use that should be seriously considered, then there will be a public hearing at the village board. When if you want to make your thoughts known again, you certainly keep your eye on the paper, and you certainly go down there and do it at that time. So I thank you all for coming. They came down for this. And so I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing. Motion made and seconded. All those in favor? Any opposed? So carried. Have a good evening. Thank you for coming down. Now, moving right along.
Can I ask on another issue? I didn't know if it
Who wants these?
Me, I did. That's why I came down. I did.
Oh, sure.
On 30 Sunset Lane,
Yeah.
the vacant lot, I didn't know if there was discussion about that tonight.
Yeah, I still opened up the meeting as the Shine application.
Yes, on the
That-
vacant lot.
Oh, yeah, it has to be adjourned, so it's adjourned until next month.
Oh, okay, so that would be.
See you later out there, Dave.
One mic. Yeah.
Okay, and then
My
there's
only,
also
my only
a
concern
change
is
of
taxes
property.
going up and.
Right now,
Yeah,
yeah, it's a right of way for that lot.
that's, I guess, what's the question, but we had to check with Carolyn. There's an issue with that, I don't know.
The container on 30.
Oh,
Okay.
I don't know what the hour. He's on the phone.
All right.
Thanks for coming
So
down.
in June, you said? Thank you.
Okay, moving on with our adjourned application. From Patchogue LLC, 13-15 East Main Street, seeks permission to renovate existing commercial space for restaurant on first and second floor. Third story addition, third story enclosed addition for the purpose of all lounge special permission on planning board for rooftop dining. Subject premises located in the 2nd business zone. Good evening. Thank you for your patience.
I feel so bad, I'm going to laugh.
That's okay. Mr. Bojack and the camera is still here, so. Could you both please state your name and address again for the record?
David Hirsch, 32 Copeland Road.
Ken Blazer, 54 East Lake Drive.
Okay, so when we last met, which was last month, we adjourned the hearing pending some information. And one of those key things was the elevator.
Yes.
I'm a little discombobulated, give me a second to catch up to you guys. Okay. So what have you got for us? I know about the elevator, what else did we go through?
I think that was really it. It was decided that we needed to put an elevator, so we reconfigured the space and also we talked about making sure that there were ADA bathrooms, or at least one ADA bathroom on each floor.
Right.
So I think that we've achieved that. We located the elevator in, tried a lot of locations. I think we found the only place that it actually could work and serve without impeding any traffic.
So
It's
dazzle
not
me
easy, it's
with,
not a very big building, so it's not
dazzle
easy.
me with information about this elevator.
It's called a Lula, which is a limited use, what does that say, limited use lift,
List.
accessibility. And it functions pretty much like a regular elevator. I just think that its controls are remote, so it moves at a slower rate, and it's allowed. It's not, you don't have to put in hydraulics or a elevator machine room. It only takes 4 inches of clearance in the floor, and you can you come up to 40 feet to remotely mount the controls.
Weight
So-
and size.
I don't know the weight and size off the top of my head.
Okay, well, those
I
are
mean,
two
the size,
pieces
well,
of
the size
information.
the size I can give you, but the weight, I don't know what the weight.
The interior size and what weight it'll handle are 2 pieces of information that we absolutely need to have,
Okay.
okay? I have to make sure that we can extricate patients from the 3rd floor and take them down the elevator with at least 1, if not 2 people in there to help them out.
Well, that's according to the requirements from the building code architect for New York State. This elevator is acceptable. So I went with it because really it would be very difficult for us to do a full-fledged elevator here.
So just get us the stats.
Okay.
I need to know the physical interior size of the doors.
Well, the interior does, it can. The si-
And
They are
the
made
weight.
completely for ADA accessibility.
I want the capacity you can carry, right?
Yeah, the capacity, I don't know. Although we can look it up.
Looking it up right now as well.
Okay.
It is designed to be ADA compliant.
Yeah.
Which means you get a wheelchair in it, which is very important.
Yes. The inside is 5'9".
Well, there's 24/7 live
By 5'9".
questions we can call if you guys want to call together
Live chat.
on speaker.
5'9" inches.
5'9". The clear door opening is 3'6".
I'm sorry?
The clear door opening is 3'6".
3'6". Okay. So it's 42-inch door opening.
Yes.
And the weight, you know what that one is?
The weight I do not know. The weight capacity I do not know.
Where are the controls then for, if I'm looking at it?
Okay, if you're looking at the plan, take a look at this, are you holding it the same chapter? Look across from the bathrooms, underneath this stair here. We're able to put, the stair goes up from this point, so.
Oh, I see elevator mechanical.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's scary. It's so far away, okay.
Yeah, you're allowed 40 feet.
Okay, and then if I'm going to push the button, I see there's a 24 by 24 box right outside.
Oh, yeah, that's a little.
That's a chimney.
Right, so
So,
the,
you know, it's a little removable table.
oh, okay, so
That may or may
there's,
not be there.
okay, so the controls would be.
The controls are, yeah.
Right on it, okay.
Okay.
And the other thing I can't tell you really is the capacity, the weight capacity.
You're gonna use this
If
to
you
get,
look under Severia, it should give us,
you're gonna use this to get customers up to the second and third floor.
yes, yes, it does go all the way to the third floor. It has a
It's
travel
not so much
capacity of
getting up,
25
it's
feet.
getting down.
Yeah,
That's what we get called.
yeah, it's, you know, it's not, we're not talking a rapid elevator, it
Yeah.
moves at a very,
No, that's okay.
very slow
I
number of
understand
feet
that.
per minute.
That's fine.
You know, we use for, you know, wheelchairs, but, you know, probably elderly as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Especially to the third floor, you know. I want to take my 93-year-old father to Rome, and I want him to be able to get to the third floor.
You don't want to carry them.
We were out looking, I've looked at 3 different sites, and
Yeah.
750 to 1,000 pounds is a typical Lulu.
That's fine. That's fine. Okay. And so we've solved the bathroom issue, and we pretty much have exhausted the plan other than that.
Yeah, I mean, I think we went through pretty much everything on the plan
Yep.
prior,
Yep.
so. We're going to a full set.
Okay.
Yeah, the second floor we reduced, there were 2 bathrooms, we reduced it to 1 bathroom larger and added a storage included.
I'll make it a 88 line.
And we did the same on the 3rd floor.
Anybody else have any further questions on this thing? Anyone in the audience wish to speak for or against the application? Being no one present, to speak for or against, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing. So moved. Motion made, closed, seconded, all those in favor? Any opposed? So carried. Thanks for coming down tonight. It'll be a
Okay, do
pleasure.
you need a larger scale set with the elevator?
Do you have them, Carol?
I'll take the one.
Okay.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, West Road Realty Corp., 200 West Avenue, 6th Commission to erect new 36 by 75 boat storage building, self-premise located in the industrial zone. We closed this last month.
It's in you again.
That was the one with color.
It's Jen.
Yeah, okay, that's.
Yeah.
I have some paperwork for that.
I spoke to,
Thanks for coming down tonight, folks.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
We can't wait.
Back in the boom days, you'd be in
You
for about
gotta tell
11:30, 12 o'clock, but,
Yeah.
so it's not that bad, really.
Thank you.
All right, we'll be in touch, thank you.
thank you. I spoke to the company actually.
Yeah.
These are the elevations. I went over them with them and pulled out the pages from the actual plans. So you can see on which elevation, where the doors are gonna be and everything. I also have, color swatches, and I have stuff, they did a new survey.
Okay. ARB doesn't get involved in this, right? It's not
No.
the business.
This is the survey that shows proposed building. Building.
Yeah. Yep.
And these are the color structures.
Yeah. I think we
This
were
is the
looking for
wall.
a blue or something, weren't we?
This is what he's gonna do. This
Oh,
is
that,
the walls.
that's fine.
Walls.
Walls?
And this is the roof. Dark brown.
I guess that would blend, actually, probably
Yeah,
better
they
than
wanted
it
to
won't
blue
step
because
out,
they
right?
felt like it was gonna be
Yeah.
like
better.
glaring
Yeah.
colors and really
Okay.
nice with us, rather than that.
That blends right in.
So I think those are the only two things we were looking for.
The survey, yes, the elevation and the colors.
So this is a new survey, or this
It's
is
a new one.
new survey, it shows the structure on the property. Carol, I just got a question, the old survey showed that old wooden building, that wooden building's gone now, or am I just not?
This is a lake, this is not new. It may be
Did I
new
give you?
in terms of its submission to us, but it's not new.
The building is not on
Yeah,
here.
it's
What is this to?
Yeah, there's another building, and
Who's
there's some
building?
parking issues.
Those are wooden shack,
Sure.
so that wasn't on
Oh,
property.
Yeah, they
structures
said
not
it's
shown are to be removed. So maybe he's removing that. Structures not shown are to be removed,
Oh,
Does that,
says it on
so
there.
it's going in place of.
He's,
So it looks
okay,
like
he's
he's
given
getting
us
rid
an
of
up,
it.
he's given us an update on May 7th of this year.
okay,
I thought I
The
saw.
upper box, a revision date,
okay, I see.
and structures not shown are to be removed.
So that building we're worried about is gonna go. So that really is the last hurdle.
It is. I thought I asked him that, he said it wasn't.
I mean, there was some question about parking, where, how he was gonna set up his parking.
But if you recall, he answered that,
Joe wasn't here.
I wasn't here.
he was gonna put, well, his retail establishment is actually on the adjacent parcel,
There is no retail.
and there is no retail on this parcel at all.
It's a pass-through warehouse.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
What
the
you say about
public would
that?
not be going in there.
so it's moved, it's not for public consumption. And it, I think the colors are right, I think the colors would make
It'll
it
blend.
blend much
The
better.
blue would have been glaring.
I think this is right across from Mr. Bojack's house, isn't it?
Pretty close.
Okay, I don't have any further question on this application. Does anybody else have a question? Okay, so let's, anybody prepared to make a,
What was your concern about the elevation?
We hadn't seen,
we just had to see,
Those are them.
we had to provide the 4 elevations.
what's the height of,
Well, you got 45 feet.
yeah,
in the-
right, so he can go up there.
29,
So
30
he's,
Okay.
30 feet new.
yeah, you got 45 feet plus the FEMA.
So I move that we approve the application.
Just one quick question, as long as I said the word FEMA.
No, even, not commercial.
Okay. So a motion made to approve the application and a second, all those in favor?
Well, I just have a
Question
question.
on the motion.
I'd like to note that we're using the amended site survey for the approval, because there are more than one property site survey.
Okay, that survey
That's got to be the
noted 5714.
which indicates that all buildings that are not on the survey are to be removed.
Any objection to adding that into your motion?
Nope.
Okay, so make sure that is entered in as part of the motion and your second is good.
Thanks.
Okay, so all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? None opposed. Okay. Let's, are we prepared at this point to make a motion on Rome? I think they've done everything we've asked them to do at this point. To my satisfaction, as far as the elevator is concerned, as you know, I'm keyed in on public safety and the ADA requirement, which I think they certainly have now covered with the bathroom, as well as making sure that anyone can have access to the third floor. So, if that be the case, I'll entertain a motion.
Well, Carol, did they come to an agreement with the building department about how many spots they're going to purchase
Yes.
for the items correctly?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I have like 33 or so.
It's
Pretty high.
Yeah.
That's a lot of change.
Good.
Okay.
On the parking structure.
As is the case with the application that well, it's not an application yet. During work session, we had folks come in on about sushi.
Yeah, a sushi lounge.
Sushi lounge, that are very successful in other parts of the country.
You know,
On South Ocean Avenue, and they've also have made those arrangements or know what that cost is, so. Okay, so I'll entertain a motion on Rum Patchogue LLC.
A motion to approve as presented and amended tonight with the new elevator plans and the ADA compliant restroom on every floor.
Okay, so motion made.
Second.
Second by Mr. Murphy. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? So carried. I think the business of the board is done at this point. I will put together some thoughts on the Pine Lake properties and
Let me
we'll
ask,
talk about that.
what else were they proposing? So he owns that property. So
The
he's
Fusillo
going to
family owns that property. And they have, as of right, used to either C residence, which was a multiple family dwellings, could have been apartments. E industrial, which essentially is everything short of a tannery. Well, I shouldn't say that, that's not correct. But it's for industrial use. And again, if you go back 100, 150 years in Patchogue, River Avenue, anything off the river was industrial use. So you would have all kinds of heavy industry going on there. So there are, when you go into the code book, there are a few restrictions for the industrial. However, there's a lot of things that you can't do, but you can get permits. And what's the other zone? It's the industrial, it's D2? D2. So that's where the whole concept of if they want to put a strip mall. So I mean, as of right, although it's, no matter what, it would be, somewhat of a difficult task to do, they could do many different things there. And I think that our discussion has been over the years with the applicant, what can you do that's the least impact? Because, as people who live there certainly said that, there's some issues. River Avenue is the River Avenue Highway, as was amply put tonight, or aptly put. So, that's the story. I don't know of any less impact you could do other than to clear it off and make a ball field, then you have people coming and don't want to play ball.
The traffic on these things is the second lowest for the
Absolutely.
And if that, I drive that intersection several times a week, and that intersection is bad.
It's terrible.
So with a low, also I live right off West, which has some funny zoning in my area too, so that lowest is the best, I think it's the best use that we're gonna find.
Yeah.
It's the second lowest, what's the lowest?
Public utility, water tanks uptown.
I mean, I don't think it has any impact on parking, I mean, on coming in and out, I mean, it's so minimal.
And
That
by the
kind of
way,
business, but-
The alignment of that intersection is terrible, so
Oh.
that's, and then the tracks and the.
it's been the subject of many accident over the years, many accidents at that intersection. It's just badly done, but, you know,
It's
it's,
just a bike
Yeah,
trail,
they're
they're
all
over it too.
insurance.
So it's
Yeah.
such an awkward.
you can't,
I don't know if they have to go, we'll try to close
yeah.
the tree.
Well, we've been to many,
Scary.
we've been to many of those in that particular area, between there and Blue Point, yes. Interesting, it's an interesting area.
It's possible to make comment to the village board that we need to prohibit any type of commercial use of those spaces, because it
Yeah.
always happens.
Yeah, that's number
Especially
one on my
with
list.
big units, things can be driven in and out, and equipment can be parked in there. Any of these storage rooms you go to,
Yeah.
there's always a painter, a landscaper, an electrician working out there.
Or commercial storage facilities allow for things like RV storage and that kind of stuff, so you
Right.
don't wanna have any heavy, large
Yes.
vehicle storage.
The one on.
Or no storage,
So no on-site storage.
no on-site storage.
Right, no on-site storage.
I don't see a problem with that.
Well, outside.
I have an RV, I have propane park, and
Everything's in it.
and not everybody is smart about, you know, we keep ours in our driveway, but we winterize, we weatherize, we do everything smart, but, not everybody does it. I have two tanks on my trailer.
Yeah.
As far as chemical storage goes, the owner of that property becomes responsible for whatever people do on that property, so if there are state or rectal violations, that is, so.
You know, there's one other area, I happen to know the type of business, the eviction part.
That's, hey, they made a whole
And there's a
series
lot.
out of that.
And there's a
Storage
lot,
doors.
and don't they,
Yeah.
you know, people don't pay their bills. So, and residential have to pay theirs,
Sure,
so that's what you also have to do.
but that's their problem.
That's their problem, but
Yeah.
it does get a little messy, people
Yeah.
aren't always so nice about it.
You have to put a sprinkler system in, John?
Well, you could do that, but if you do that, the whole area,
Water,
It's not
It's
environmental.
not needed.
it's,
Yeah, it's debated, it's debatable.
I'm not sure if the code actually calls,
I
requires it.
don't believe it does.
It's a
Most of the-
single story,
The bigger places, once they're climate control, they put in a suppression system. And typically you have a free space between the top of
Yeah.
your unit and the top of the ceiling. And they have the lights and fire detection and suppression. I mean, they can move walls any which way they want to be able to, 5x5s are in demand, we got more of those, and it's 10x10, so we have more of those. But it allows them to, some burn, boom, you hit it. But it's, on a building like this, probably, it's a different issue. We got so many buildings.
well, I think the issue here more than anything is since they're single-story buildings, from a firefighting perspective, although you never know what's inside of the fire building itself, I think that obviously they have to put in detection. They're gonna have to, I think they're gonna have to put detection in, so that we know if there's a fire in there. But from a firefighting perspective, since it's a single story, it becomes a little bit easier to contain.
I think they'll probably be masonry.
And I,
So they
Right, it's
probably
like
don't
cement
need the-
floors.
Yeah, they probably don't need the suppression.
and I think that every so many units, they probably have to put cement wall up. I think that's all state code. I don't think you can have from one end of this building to the other an open configuration, because I think at some point you have to put a firewall up.
But aren't they, the unit, I've rented units twice, once when I lived in.
These are
tiny
all have an
units.
exterior door.
Right, they have an exterior door, so the units I
They're
rented,
defined.
right, the second time I was moving,
There may be a masonry.
it was masonry between every single one. They were blocked, they were concrete blocked.
I mean, it
Which
depends on
also
how they
gives it a
build
higher
it. Some of
fire
them are,
rate.
some of them aren't.
If,
Mine was not climate controlled, the second time, so.
the only question that it would appear that the way these are drawn, 30 feet deep, these are 10 foot wide by 15. These, majority of these buildings are 30 feet, 1, 2, 3, 4. The only one that you might have an interior hallway in is the climate control building. And that one, at least should be, and if you think that it's prudent, we can certainly detection.
It's a judgment call to, I offer it for discussion, not because I advocate it, but, you want us to fire safely. I looked up Smoky Dairy the other day, and I found a picture.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Yeah, it's big too.
And a tutu.
They're still running? Yeah, that's good, thank you. Thank you, Counselor, appreciate that.
Just a board joke.
So noted, and I'll make that as a suggestion, and we'll certainly keep that in mind for any future discussion. If I happen to see Mr. Fusillo, I'll ask him about that
You
as well.
have to ask Pete about where those parking spaces above those doors, because I don't know if the doors will have the fire rating to allow you to park directly adjacent to those doors.
The walls.
Yeah, I don't know, I don't wanna say it doesn't, but, the reality is people will park close to their unit, and there'll be very few people in the site at any particular time, so it's really not a problem, but state code does have rules. They changed them when they went to the international code, like in the old days it was wire glass, and there had to be a rating on the wall if it's adjacent to the car, believe it or not. The concern is that the car goes up and the building catches. But before we approve the parking layout, because it's such an unusual layout, I think we should at least ask Pete if there's any concern.
And we should also, well, if those are steel doors, I'm pretty sure they are.
They may be fine, or he may just have to use a particular kind of
Steel door, yeah.
door.
All right, I have it noted.
You know.
Anything else, folks? Okay.
Because most of the places that have the garages, they don't designate parking. People do park next to them, but they're not striped parking.
Okay, anything else? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. All those in favor? Any opposed?
So I think that